Hey everyone, Happy New Year! It's Reilly with another all English episode. I'm sorry if this one's coming out a little bit later than normal. I thought that I could record while I was at my mom's house for the holidays, but it turns out she doesn't have a computer anymore, so I didn't have the software to record on. So sorry about that, but anyway, Happy New Year. And actually that kind of the changes going on at my mom's house, and I guess kind of in America in general, is what I would like to talk about. It's maybe better to say that the changes that I noticed, because some of them are probably not that different from when I left, about 10 years ago. But there's things that I guess I kind of, I've gotten used to being different in Japan, so it created this kind of reverse culture shock when I was back this winter. This past couple weeks, I guess. So yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. The changes, kind of culture shock, things that I felt or noticed while I was over there. Instagrams. Mine is Reilly Sullivan XD. Sota is Eigo no Sota. And then without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay, so yeah. I was, as I mentioned in the kind of intro, I was in America for the last couple weeks for Christmas and New Year's at my mom's house, new house. So they recently built it, I don't know, in the last year or two. So I actually haven't been there, so it was all new to me. Very, very nice house, much bigger than the one I grew up in. But yeah, with like a pool and a gorgeous kitchen. Anyway, not trying to brag, but just saying that it was that was the first kind of shock when I got there, was just how nice this place was compared to what I grew up in, which again wasn't bad, but wasn't this nice for sure. And yeah, another one of the first things I noticed when getting out of the airport, because the airport doesn't really count, but kind of being around in town and stuff. And to be honest, I mostly stayed at my mom's house for the whole time. I didn't go out into town very much at all. So a lot of this stuff will be kind of glances I had of like America, because I wasn't exactly like deep in it while I was there. I wasn't meeting that many people or anything like that. But one of the things that I immediately noticed was, kind of the diversity. Just compared to Japan, of course, it's kind of easy to forget, even though I talk about it a lot, but to forget the feeling of just how many different kinds of people there are. And, obviously that includes like different, I guess you could say races, whatever, national origins, like people just speaking different languages on the street. It's mostly Spanish, I guess, but also, occasionally Chinese and other languages like that. And, how many black people there are, and Asian people and white people, and yeah, Spanish-speaking people, Latin people, all kind of mixed together, and it's kind of normal, which, I don't know, it happens in Japan. Not to say that Japan is like completely Japanese. Of course, there's different people everywhere, but it felt more obvious in the States. And also not just like different, I guess races is the term I'll use, but it's kind of a weird word. But also like just different sizes of people. This sounds kind of weird, but there are big people in America, and I'm not very big. I'm fairly short. I'm like 168, 170 centimeters or something, kind of doxing myself as short. But people who have come to events know that, I guess. But in America, there's some big people. It's pretty common for people to be over 6 feet tall, which is, I'm not exactly sure what 6 feet is in centimeters. Maybe it's 180 or 185. I don't know, something like that. But there's big people over there, and big women too. I don't know. In Japan, you don't often see like very tall women. But in America, there's a lot. This seems kind of strange to say, but it was something that I noticed. I went to the gym a couple of times when I was staying at my mom's house, and just, how big some of the people are there was also shocking. Another thing was like the supermarkets. This I feel like this might not be actually a very big change from when I left, but maybe it's just that the supermarkets that my mom shops at now versus the ones that we were shopping in Maryland. My mom lives in North Carolina now, so it's not the town that I grew up in, nor the house, as I mentioned. But so we went to this supermarket a couple of times called Harris Teeter, which I think is only in the South, maybe even the southeast of the U.S., states like maybe Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, that area. And the produce section there was like shocking to me, compared to what I grew up with and compared to Japan. Just the sheer variety of vegetables and fruits that they have. In Japan, at least in Takamatsu, where maybe the supermarkets aren't as big or as diverse as they might be in bigger cities in Japan. But the kind of vegetables you see are pretty much always the same, with a few different ones that show up, depending on the season, right? I would say that's a cool thing that Japan has, that there are these seasonal vegetables that are kind of a big deal, or seasonal fruit. But in America, it seems like they just have everything all the time. Like there were tomatillos there, which is like a Mexican kind of green tomato. It's not the same as a tomato, but it's close. That are extremely hard to find in Japan, which was something that was noteworthy to me. And like every kind of chili pepper, basically, that you can imagine, including shito. So like there was quite a few Japanese ingredients there in the produce section, which I don't think were there when I lived in America for sure. Yeah, and a bunch of herbs and other things that like are kind of hard to find in Japan, and just the amount of them that was on the shelf was also surprising. It wouldn't just be like, here sometimes I can find limes in the supermarket, but if they have them, they'll be like, I don't know, maybe 10. 10 would be if the supermarket was like well stocked on limes at my local supermarket in Takamatsu. But there, the lime section had to have, I don't know, 200 limes or something. It's just the kind of the size of everything, or the scale of everything is bigger there. And the supermarket as a whole was huge. Like the cheese section, I took a couple of pictures for my story on Instagram. They have this kind of fancy cheese section in the middle where it's all like nice cheese or whatever. And then they have in a different part of the store the like sandwich cheese or shredded cheese section, which was also huge. And just like the amount of different brands of basically the same thing was shocking to me. Anyway, I could go on and on about the supermarket, but that's probably pretty boring, so I'll leave that there. Another thing that I don't want to say it should shock me, but I honestly forgot about, is I went out to dinner one night with Yuki and my sister, and we just went to this, like, I don't know I guess it's called like a brew pub or something like that. It was like a brewery where they made their own beer and also served food, which is a fairly common style of restaurant in the U.S. And so we ordered some food, and the portions were huge. Like, I mean, we ordered like an appetizer for the three of us, and then we all got sandwiches that came with French fries. The amount of food in the appetizer and also in the French fry, like the portion of French fries for each sandwich, was ridiculous, and none of us could finish our meals, which is not common for me in Japan. I pretty much always finish, and sometimes I'm even a little bit hungry after a typical restaurant's like appetizer and entree kind of thing. And then at the end of the meal, Yuki had to remind me that I needed to tip, because of course in Japan, in restaurants, you don't tip, but in America, it's pretty much expected that you tip 20% on top of whatever the meal's cost was. So I did, but I almost didn't. Maybe if Yuki hadn't been there, I would have forgotten. And then we went to a couple of bars after that to watch some football, another very American thing. Not that we particularly wanted to watch football, but it was on when we went to the bar. So that was interesting. But then also at the bar, each time you order a drink, you have to tip on it. So if it's like a $5 drink, you should add $1 for the bartender. Which, yeah, I mean, obviously that's something I remember, but having lived in Japan for a while, it's something that it wasn't immediately kind of natural for me to do. And then I guess another thing is maybe the bar culture. We didn't go to bars too much. We only went one night, and we went to like 2 different bars and had just a drink, or I think just one drink at each. But the bars are way bigger there. Like, in Takamatsu, most of the bars have space for a few people. There's maybe 5 or 6 seats at the bar, and then maybe there's a table or 2 or something like that. They're not very big. But we went to one that you would maybe call a dive, which is kind of like, a cheaper bar that's maybe a little bit dirty or whatever. And even that was like really big. Had probably like 10 seats at the bar and like 5 or 6 tables. You could probably fit 50 people like seated in that bar. Maybe not quite, maybe 30. But certainly if there were people standing, you could fit over 50 in the bar. And then we went to a second bar that was huge. It had this like this bar that was kind of like a circle. It went all the way around, and so you could fit probably 30 people just at the bar, and then they had several tables out, and that one could fit, I don't know, if it were really busy, like for the Super Bowl or something, you could probably have like 200 people in there. It was huge. And it didn't give me the impression that was like a particularly, I don't know what to say, like important or big bar in the city. It was just kind of one of them. There were probably 4 or 5 bars that size in this little town that my mom lives in. I said city. It's definitely smaller than Takamatsu. I'm not sure how big the city she lives in is, but it's a small city or a large town, I guess you would say. But yeah, in addition to that, like another thing was kind of the friendliness, I guess, of people, like random people on the street. My mom lives in this subdivision, you would call it. It's kind of like I don't know, it's almost what you see in like American movies of the suburbs, where kind of all the houses look almost the same, kind of variations on the same architectural theme. All the houses have the same style of architecture, but they're like a little bit different from each other. And it's all around this kind of lake. So pretty much every day we would go for a walk around the lake, like about a mile loop. A mile's what? I don't know, 1.6 kilometers or something like that. I forget. So we would do like a mile around the lake, and everybody we would meet would say hello to us. It was like, I don't know, you have to say hello. And you don't say much more than that. It's not like you stop and chat, unless it's someone you actually know. But, strangers walking along the lake path kind of have to say hello. And, a lot of people have dogs. It felt like a lot more than have dogs in Japan, for sure. It felt like maybe 1 in 3 groups of people walking would be walking a dog. And so maybe then you would stop and pet the dog, ask the dog's name or whatever, and then keep going. But that's something that, at least in Takamatsu, I don't do, and I don't think I see people doing, except with like their actual neighbors, who they know. So that was a little bit of a difference, and I think that is a little bit more of a southern thing in the U.S. North Carolina is kind of in the south. I mean, it is in the south. So I think that might be more of a southern thing. It wouldn't happen so much, I think, in Maryland, where I grew up, unless you actually knew the person that you came across while going on a walk. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things that really shocked me. Those are the major ones, but probably the other one that this wasn't shocking to me, but it was kind of reinforced is driving. You have to drive everywhere. There's like no way to walk somewhere, even if you are willing to walk for like 30 minutes or something to go to the nearest store. You really can't. Like, the roads don't have like crosswalks for people to get across them a lot of the time. And all the cars are huge. Like very few people have like a car, meaning, like a kind of Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord kind of, like 4-door car. Almost everyone has like an SUV, or in the South, a pickup truck. There are tons and tons of pickup trucks going around. So yeah, the size of everything was bigger in the US. So I think that's about all the things that really shocked me. And most of it was like not necessarily bad, I would say. I'm using the word shocked, but it didn't have like a negative impact on me. It was just something that I noticed was quite different from what I'm used to now in Japan. So I think I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, guys. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to doing more podcasts in the new year. Yeah, talk to you guys again soon, or whatever. I'll do another podcast soon. Bye-bye.